Hi everybody, welcome back to Mando Lessons. In this lesson, I'm just going to go through the parts of the mandolin. If you're just gotten a mandolin, there's a little bit of lingo that happens. There's some kind of specialized language that goes along with owning a mandolin and hearing people talk about the instrument. So I'm just going to go through sort of visually on my instrument and point to the parts and give you their names. Some of them have some different names that different people will call them. And sort of guide you through the process. So starting right off at this end of the instrument, you have this is called the headstock, this whole general area. On the headstock, you have what are called tuning machines, tuners, tuner buttons, tuning pegs. People call them different things, but they're the metal and plastic little geared things that make us be able to play in tune. So I'm a big fan of tuning machines, and all mandolins have them, so that's handy. Then on this side, you have inlay, so often the name of the instrument, and maybe something decorative here. That's inlay, usually made with, it can be plastic, it can be wood, it can be abalone or mother of pearl, or different stone. People do all sorts of different stuff. And this is generally, this area here is called the headstock overlay. And what it is it's a thin sheet of darker wood. Sometimes, in this case, it's ebony, a hard, dark wood over the sort of the rest of the headstock. And around it, and around the whole body of this instrument, is what's called binding, this little white and black strip that goes around the instrument's head. Here we have the nut. This is the nut of the instrument, and sort of the playable the sounding portion of the strings happens between the nut and the bridge, which I'll get to later. So the notes, the strings above the nut don't sound particularly good, and then the strings below the nut are where we generally play the instrument. I've got this little cover. I hope it comes through on the video. It's a little kind of plate that's got two screws in it, and that's over a hole. And in that hole is what's called a truss rod. And a truss rod is a metal bar that goes through the whole neck of the instrument, which is this part. And it's adjustable so that if the neck of your instrument ever gets really warped and kind of looks like this, or kind of bows out the other direction, to some extent you can adjust the truss rod with a little wrench and hopefully straighten out your neck. And so this is the truss rod cover because it covers the truss rod. Other things you might find on the headstock of an instrument are tuners. So this is a tuner, an electronic tuner, a clip-on tuner. People call them different things. And that thing will keep you in tune. I'm a big fan of them, but also tuning by ear is great as well. Moving on, we have the neck of the instrument, which is this whole chunk here. It's sort of what your left hand interacts with to play different parts of the instrument to create different sounds. On top, you have what's called the fretboard or the fingerboard, which is the black, also ebony, or usually some kind of hard dark wood. Sometimes they're made out of light wood, or everybody does. There's a million different variations here, but on this instrument it's ebony fretboard. And dividing the fretboard up are what are called frets, little bits of metal kind of going across the strings, and that makes it so you can play your notes in tune. But I'm not in tune. There we go. Then on top, the things that make it all happen, we have the strings, 8 of them. We also have more inlay, and these are called position markers often, these little dots. There's some will have one on the 3rd, most have them on the 5th, the 7th, the 10th, and they often have 2 on the 12th. And that makes it an octave above. So we have this open string. For example, I'll start with something that's in tune here. The D string, second set of strings in, And if you play that 12th fret, it sounds like the same note, just higher. It's an octave above. So that 12th fret, those two dots sort of denote the fact that that's an octave higher than the open string. And then some will have them on the 15th, sometimes the 17th, but it's kind of awkward to play up there, and I don't get up there much myself. Other things on, I think that's about it on the neck. Oh, it also has position markers. Hope you can see this in the video. I hope this is coming through, but on the side where there are dots on the front, you also have position markers on the side in the binding of the instrument. You also have what's called the fingerboard extension. If you sort of look at the instrument this way, you have this little bit that hangs out. Some people call it like a Florida. It looks a little bit more like the state in the United States, Florida. On other instruments, this one's a little kind of shorter, just from the design, but people will make these different shapes, but it's called the fingerboard extension. Moving on, we have the body of the instrument. This is what makes it sound the way it sounds. The top is this part, often made out of spruce or cedar or redwood, some light, strong wood. Then we have the sides. These are the sides. And the back. And those are often made out of maple or rosewood or ebony, or usually not ebony, rosewood or mahogany. Often a harder wood that sort of will project the sound out from the instrument forward. Let's see what else we have here. We have the bridge. So like it acts kind of like the nut up here. Anything above the nut doesn't sound good. Anything below the bridge also doesn't really sound good. And it's the notes in between that sort of sound good on the instrument. We have a tailpiece. That's the thing that holds the strings. The tuning machines hold one end of the strings, and that's how you adjust their pitch. The tailpiece holds the other end. Often on mandolins, it's loop. You have little loops on the ends of the strings that go around chunks of the tailpiece. A lot of instruments, this piece is called the tailpiece cover, and that often will just kind of come right off. On this particular design, it hinges open, but a lot of them you can just pull it right off. Some people never put them back on. What also some people will have is a little thin piece of often wood or plastic here, maybe with some brackets to hold it, called a pick guard, and that just sort of can, if you're, it can, I think it initially is made so that you don't kind of pick through the strings and then ding up your instrument. You know, I've got a few scratches here from getting a little wild and maybe hitting the top of the instrument with my pick. I don't tend to use a pick guard just because of the way that I play, and I don't tend to come in danger of hitting the top of the instrument very much. But a lot of instruments will have them. Often you can just take them off if you so desire to. It might leave little holes. Got a few kind of little, again, I hope you can see this, some holes here that you can, on this instrument, you can put the pick guard back in and take it out kind of as you please. Other ones you have to undo a few screws. But that's the personal preference, whether you want the pick guard there. You got more binding around the instrument, more of this white plastic that kind of protects the top. It's a little harder to dent this binding than the softer wood. So that's a nice kind of protective thing. Not all instruments will have them. Some will, some won't. You have the sound holes. That's where kind of decides a lot of the sound of the instrument. Some instruments will have F holes, so these kind of look like Fs. Other instruments will have oval holes, right? Just one oval hole right in the middle, kind of right around here. So you often will have either F holes or an oval hole, not both. Sometimes the F holes will look more like S's, or some people make them as like lightning bolts. I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. And that's the majority of the instrument. There's a few things, kind of optional accessories that I've got. This is a tone guard, and that just sort of keeps the instrument off my stomach so the back can vibrate freely. Again, totally personal choice. I'm not endorsed by the Tone Guard company or anything. I just like the way it feels. It also gives me something to clip a microphone. I use a kind of a gooseneck microphone that comes I clip here, and then it comes and sits right over the instrument when I play amplified. And that gives me somewhere to clip it, so I like that. Also, this armrest, it's a McClung armrest. I like it just because it puts my arm in a nice place, and sometimes the edge of the instrument's a little sharp, and that armrest is nice and comfortable. But again, lots of people don't use them and don't have any problems, so it's purely a personal choice. I got a strap here. Here's something I've forgotten. The tail piece. I'll try to get that focus. On the tail piece, you often have a strap button, which is this thing down here, often made out of wood or plastic, and that just holds the strap. So I don't know if I'll be able to get this back on camera, but you put one end of your strap on the tail piece. That's going to be good enough for now. I'll get it on after the video is over. And that pretty much sums it up. The only other thing you need is a pick, and you got everything you need to play. So I hope that just about covers everything. If you got more questions, leave them in the comments. Check out a bunch more lessons over at mandolessons.com. If you found these videos helpful, there's a couple ways to donate, but it's not a requirement by any means. The lessons are free to use, and share them around, and just have fun playing music. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.